This is the Open Space Committee hearing. It is March the 18th. There's a new faces on the table today that I don't know if you guys might know. So I'll just do a quick introduction going around, and then we have an agenda we can pick up. So again, Bill Hoffman, I live over Old Town, 21 Marsh Ave. Been in town for over 10 years. Been on the committee for just over a year now.
Mike Carbone, I live on Solid Road. Been on and off this committee for a long time.
Sean McElroy, lived in town for about 40 years. I live on Main Street, and I'm hoping to get the rail trail to go through town if possible.
Mary Ann Stacy, I'm a member of the Recreation Committee and very happy to join you this evening.
John Regan from Recreation Committee. I'm on Central Street and also very interested in the rail trail.
David Powell, and I live across the street on Kent Way.
I'm Sadie. I live in Rowley, so just right next to Newbury. And I'm the Open Space Plan Update Coordinator within the Planning Department.
Great. I'm Kristen Grubbs, Planning Director, and also live on Elm Street in town.
All right, great, thanks.
Both on the rec committee.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Great. Yeah, thanks for showing up and participating. Appreciate it. So we have a pretty full agenda, and so I'm just going to start buzzing right through it. We have quite a bit to go over relative to the survey that we're all working on. So first is citizen queries, and I don't see anybody from the public here, so none of those. Then has everybody seen the minutes? There was two sets of meeting minutes that Mike typed up, one for the 25th of February and the one from our last meeting, which was the 4th. So you sent them out as an attachment. Great. Any comments, any changes? No? All right, then I'd like to move to accept those.
Move to accept the minutes for both meetings.
Second.
Perfect, thank you. And last Monday, I think Sadie and David, you guys attended the rec committee.
So take a vote. Sorry, of your minutes. You moved and second, and you just need to take care of it.
Everybody in favor?
I
Aye.
Thanks.
Yeah. No worries. This is all new to me.
No, that works.
Yeah, okay, good.
We got it.
Perfect. Okay, so leave Monday, you guys were able to sit in on the rec committee meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was really great to meet all of them, and these two here. And yeah, we basically just wanted to loop them in however they wanted to be involved, and we mentioned the survey. That's like the current stage of the project at the moment, and I think John Reagan and Mark sent some comments that we could go over tonight. So yeah, I think it was a good collaboration for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, I think all I would add is that we made it very clear, and it seems to work, that the Recreation Committee people would be very welcome to our meetings because of what we're involved in is the plan, which includes them as well. So, and I'm very
We're
pleased
just
to
curious
see
how
you
you do a
both.
meeting in an hour. Actually, that's good.
Don't ask us.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out.
And
Like, so.
and the snacks, too.
Yes, yeah, well, we definitely have to figure that out.
All right, well, great, thanks, and again, thank you. So now, we're flying along, which is great. We had a pretty long meeting on the 4th. We went through meticulously and went through every question and updated the survey. I believe Sadie's gone through and incorporated all of our comments, and then maybe, I'm not sure, perhaps a new question maybe, and put it into a Google Forms format.
Yeah.
So the idea is that once this is approved, then this is something we could put on their phone or or whatever. like-
Yeah, you could use it on, any device,
Oh,
and
something.
we'll receive all the responses.
Obviously sat on the wrong side of the table.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so, I wanted to take, anyone from the committee's, feedback on what I sent out, that included all of our edits from our last discussion, and then I wanted to incorporate, John and Mark's, feedback as well, and also your feedback that you might have brought from the rest of the committee, so, I think I will scoot up there. And if we want to just start with what we have up on the screen, or do you guys have, anyone want to start with feedback?
I think if we go through the questions.
Go through. Okay.
Well, I think, okay, if I might suggest is that Mark has made a bunch of comments, okay, and maybe what we should do is if we go through the intro, essentially through this, and I can, if it works for everybody, review sort of what his comment was and suggest, how it works or doesn't, and obviously other people want to comment on this, but he did start off commenting on this introduction by saying that the suggestion that there should be the Recreation Committee's mission statement.
Okay.
And I didn't quite really understand why he thought that should be there, because I don't think it's germane to the survey.
I would agree with that. Mission statements are generally on specific documents, not generally in a survey
Right,
to
and
solicit
if
feedback.
people wanted to look at
It's
it, they could go to
clearly
your,
accessible on
Yeah.
the website.
yeah,
So reiterating mission statements, for the most part, I've done a lot of surveys within my work organization. My apologies, I did not have an opportunity to review this prior. But general mission statements are not in
yeah.
surveys.
Yeah, and I feel like we capture the
I
idea.
think the essence
Within
is captured.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's expressed, I'm sure that there's opinions on everything, but for the most part, surveys are to elicit a type of feedback. So you want, and in today's society, everyone's very, quick, let me get through it. I don't want to, you don't want a long, cumbersome survey where you have to read a lot of content. So I would agree with that statement.
Okay. And then, yeah, I agree, maybe less than 10 minutes to complete might be a better way to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the hook for people.
Right. Okay. And then add a sentence.
Yeah.
We can do that too.
I think you've already said that
That's
it's important. I don't think you
isn't
need
it
to
there, the results
reiterate.
will help
Yeah.
inform plans?
Yeah.
Maybe elaborate, and again, it's your committee, just elaborate that people that aren't in the know have no idea that we're trying to adhere to some state standard, I think. Right? It's not there in the beginning. It's important that we have an open space plan, so we have access to grants, et cetera.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Maybe just a little fluff
Okay.
would help with that, and because you guys are close to it, we read it for the first time.
Yes.
And I fully realize you want to get it out too, so I will limit my comments to 3. That was a half.
I think that's easy to add, just one sentence
Yeah.
that says this survey is a part of updating the plan, which enables the town to access funding opportunities or whatever. You can probably get that in one sentence.
Okay.
Like, this survey is part of a plan of, What'd you just say?
That was really good.
Uh,
They like to take me.
Roll it back,
This survey is an important part of updating the town's open space and recreation plan, which enables us to access state funding for projects. It's a little different than what I said. Updating the town's open space and recreation plan, which allows the town to access state funding for projects. Something like that?
I do, because, what do they say, there's the radio station, what's in it for me? So as a taxpayer of the town, it's like, oh, we can get some money from the state, that's
Yeah.
always a very good
Yeah.
option. And that's a hook to complete the survey.
Okay, great. What's next?
Okay, and then my next thing is that he talks about how we're gonna tabulate this. I think this much too soon to know about that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we just at this point do not know what our capabilities are in terms of actually using the data, right? And the other thing, the relationship issue that he talks about is more complex at this point. I think that we really need to get involved in, though it's not to say that that relationship won't exist within the results if you're looking for it. But I don't think we can build something in at this point. And if we do, I think it takes away from the simplification that we've tried for, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I agree that the surveys, this is already too far down the weeds, that the purpose of the survey is a lot higher level than that. We're looking for just collecting information for planning purposes, which also, like some of the other points that he made, questions that he proposed, almost more like operational, where this is just more like a planning document. And then it's almost like the next survey that comes out, the
Correct.
next phase would be.
This is more like a follow-up to this
Yeah.
initial survey.
Yep.
To get more targeted results.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm all about getting more data and feedback. I think it's a great idea to ask these questions, just perhaps not in this format at this time.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I think, I agree with what he said about currently participating into within the last year,
Yeah,
what
I would say
recreational
so.
activities.
Right.
Okay. Because I think that helps with because I think we talked about that last time about, oh, some of these are seasonal, so we weren't sure.
Pickleball.
Add pickleball?
No, not pickleball, but here.
That's true.
I think the dog walking issue is a bit esoteric. It talks about the difference between dog playing and dog walking, and I just wondered whether we could change it to dog exercising. Would that work better?
Well, I think what he's calling out is that, do you want a meeting place for you and your dogs to play together? Or do you just want to go for a walk with your single dog? So,
It's actually an
It's kind of-
interesting point, because there's
kind of two
multiple
different
groups
things.
that have play dates at the soccer fields. And
They take their dog?
8 to 10 people, the dogs know each other. It's
Uh-huh.
fascinating to watch, actually. So I think dog walking kind of covers that.
I
Uh-huh.
think so.
Yeah.
At one point in time, we considered a dog park for up there,
Yeah.
but it would be, why would you take your dog on a free leash area and put them inside a chain link fence? You know, it's like, they've got the best of
There are
both worlds.
real issues
Now, if we
there.
want to really
Yeah.
get outrageous, we could say they have to be on leash, but it's, dog.
That's perfect. It's general enough
Uh,
and specific.
Yeah.
So I think that's okay.
Right.
Are we going to offend cat people?
I
So
would,
what you
for
propose,
sure.
dog-related activities, dash walking.
Dog slash cat.
Et cetera, yeah.
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I added ice skating, I added ultimate frisbee.
Yeah, that's
Um,
good.
Adult organized sports and youth organized sports, should we separate them? Or is organized sports youth and adult? Okay,
Well,
I think that's okay.
there are no organized sports for adults that I'm aware of, so that's a curiosity to me, but I don't think we need to separate it.
I don't think
No
so.
softball
We're not gonna-
anymore?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It exists anymore.
Yeah,
Well,
And
doesn't the COA organize pickleball? I think
Yes, definitely.
it's not like a league or something, but
well, no,
it's organized by the town.
It's, Council on Aging plays 2 days a week.
Yeah, so that's the only one I saw there.
There used to
And
be a
the regular
men's
Roberts
soccer
plays
team.
3 days a week.
Sarah,
Maybe-
adult soccer?
There used to be a men's soccer league. in the
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
I don't think there is any longer though.
Oh, okay.
If they are, permanent.
Yeah, they
so
have not.
we leave that
Oh,
as
I
it
think-
is.
I think
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, I
Right,
no,
so, right.
that's a good discussion though, because I think dogs, people get riled up.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Okay, so, question 2.
I really don't, I think this complicates the issue in a way that we're not prepared to deal with. We're not asking people what they can't do in Newbury,
Right. Well,
are we?
I think maybe you could incorporate a question 1. In fact, it says add options. You probably want to put something in there.
Yeah. Well, I think, so the first one is what?
Check all that apply, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, you got another, maybe just put a blank line for other and drop, add option, and you could drop a question 2.
There is another.
Yeah, put like a line.
well, I think maybe this is gonna be for something that already exists in Newbury,
I see.
but we didn't include on the
Okay.
list. And then this, I think question 2 is for things that don't yet exist, or that there aren't facilities for that people might want.
Someone's gonna put adult soccer league. Hopefully, that's what we get for an answer right now.
Yeah. So,
Do you want to add not currently offered or something like that?
or like what recreational activities are not currently offered that you or your family would
Yeah,
like to do?
something like that. What recreation activities would you like to?
Yeah.
How about what other recreational activities?
Additional.
Like, or like maybe,
I mean, the implication is you can't do it now, so
Yeah.
I think it's already in there.
what other? Yeah. Does this seem?
That's fine,
Okay,
but
everybody?
would your family like to participate
Yeah.
within the town of Newbury? That's fine.
Okay.
It's like, it's implied that it's not currently offered,
Yeah.
so that's fine. I think
Okay.
that's okay.
Okay. Does everyone feel okay with 3 and 4? Yeah, okay. 5, I think that's a pretty good one. 6.
Scroll up to, I just want to see the times.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Bi-weekly.
No, no, I just wanted to see what the cadence was at the time, that's all.
Okay, and 6, okay, what do we think about?
I think that's okay.
We don't think it'll be like what Mark said, that it'll provide misleading responses?
It gives you the first
It
thing that
gives
comes to
you-
their mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it Old Town, is it Plum Island Beaches?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think is it Mantefield? I think that's, you're giving examples of locations, so I
Yeah.
think it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, you could write it out, but this way it gives the person an opportunity to type in something that maybe we're not necessarily thinking of. Maybe they're going to say the library playground, maybe. I would hate to list something so, restrict the list that doesn't allow enough feedback.
Yeah, I agree. Do we wanna say like, please name at least 2 or something? Or do we wanna just let them say whatever they want?
I think that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, but-
Okay,
Is that,
You want to,
when it tabulates, like when the school survey tabulates, would it, I'm just wondering if, you get all the results in, if you wanna see how many people said Old Town Hill, or how many people said Plum Island Beaches, can you do it if it's like in commas, or would it work if you put like 5 lines?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, would it be able to like find all the Old Town Hills?
I don't know if it's that smart.
It's
I
not-
think
yeah,
it would
it's not that
have,
smart.
it would have to be like an option that you can
A
select.
check the thing,
Yeah.
got it, yeah. So we'll just have to,
Go through.
that's the question.
Yeah, there's only, I mean, there's not that many short answer questions, so I feel like
Yeah,
it might not be that hard to
to
tabulate.
sort through and
Yeah.
like add up who,
Yeah.
Is this, what's the back end of this look like? Is it a Google Sheet? or-
Mhm.
Yeah, I
so-
think you can get
Yeah,
like a bunch of
feeds.
stats.
All of these surveys will feed to a Google Sheet, and you can, so yes, you're absolutely right, that's just gonna be a string, so.
a long line of
Yeah,
text.
it's gonna be a long line of stuff, or whatever someone puts something in. So misspellings are going to be in there, if they're like me, I'm the worst speller ever. So that's all going to be contained in your short answer text. And it would just be a string, and you just pick through what people meant.
Yeah.
But that, I think for the first survey, it's kind of okay. And then this way you're going to get the feedback, and then you can decide, okay, we have interest here, we have interest there. Then you can target the next one.
Do you wanna say that the top 3 locations to visit the most? Again, I'm just sort of thinking like, are we just looking for, anyway, what are we looking to learn? Like, are we looking to learn the ones that the most people say? Or are we just looking to learn like what everybody thinks is great?
I think we're kind of taking an inventory of what we currently have and what is being used the most. And when we talked about this last time, we didn't want to limit people to where they go, because everybody has different interests. And
Yeah,
some people might, they might like Essex Greenbelt properties for some reason. Some people have some of the trustees or whatever. I think we didn't want to limit anybody to try to really give us a more robust accounting of what we have already.
yeah, I agree. Okay.
I'm thinking, if we just named maybe a half dozen of areas that pertain, that are town areas, rather than privately owned things like, for the trustees and such. Just a couple of those and leave another for people to fill in, because it does seem like it would be useful without having to tabulate it all. I mean, hopefully we get hundreds of responses,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not gonna be, I don't know, I don't think it's a trivial job to translate that into, a choice really of which is the best place in town to do stuff.
I just didn't know if you have separate lines, will it count them separately so you could then sort it out of a spreadsheet? Do you know what I mean?
That's why I asked about the sheets, because if you have
And the
separate
back,
lines,
yeah.
it should be able to populate
Yeah,
different
Yeah.
columns.
These are the options that it gives you for response format. It usually fills any need that you have, but I don't think it will allow you to do like a
One
1, 2,
line,
like
one
first,
line,
second,
one
third
line.
situation, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, that will come out based on how many people actually check that box, right? So if 8 people check Manta Field and 4 check the beach, then we know that people are going to Manta Field a lot
Right.
more than they're to the beach.
That's true.
Well, then you need multiple choice, and you should list every single option.
Well, we gotta be a little careful.
Oh, I
because
think
now our
There's a
surveys
real problem if
getting a
you
little
start, if you start naming them in a list form, then people start sort of fishing around in their head. I think what this question is about is what's the sort of immediate reaction to, well, where do we go often? And
Type it in.
for some people that may be a lot of places, for other people it may be one place, two places. And then I think the way you tabulate it is you see what generates, in other words, as you get it. And I think that what will tell us is not only what are the most popular, but I think in part, because of some of the other questions, it will also begin to indicate, how shall I say, what people associate recreation and open space with in terms of actual places.
I agree.
And that's, in a way, very important information, I think, in the long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Take the first question, don't direct them. I like
Yeah.
it.
I like that.
Yeah.
And if you're tabulating, maybe you start writing them down and soon you just
Yeah.
start putting tick marks next. I got 7 beaches and 5.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, if
I
we
think it's
list
valuable.
them all out, people are just gonna check them all off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas-
like they went to Plum Island beaches 20 times this year, but they only went to Old Town Hill once, but they'll both get checked, so
Correct. So
maybe
you're not-
they'll,
But it also limits them to most often, because I'm sitting here thinking, where do I go most often? I go to Old Town Hill, I go to Plum Island beaches, I go to soccer field, I go.
Okay, so kind of, I mean,
Yeah, I kind of like the open-ended,
Yeah.
and then that cell, you can take the data out of that cell and then parse it, and then you can make your own columns out of it.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
need a
Separate
crash course
it,
of that.
oh,
makes
that would be
sense.
great.
Because then it's difficult, because if it's Old Town, that's 2 words, so you kind of have to, but
Yeah,
I'm happy to give you a couple
Yeah,
of crash
thank you.
courses on data tips.
yeah,
that
oh,
I've
for sure, that's awesome.
lived with in my life.
so
It's
I
like
guess I'm
sevens.
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to understand what we're trying to accomplish with the question here, I guess. We're trying to identify, what, 2, maybe 3 places that people, right off the top of their head, can name in terms of open space locations in town?
No, I think we're really trying to identify, as I said earlier, what places people identify with open space and recreation, because that's the places they go to. That's the places they visit, okay?
So,
I
okay,
think,
so
you
if we run this question, and what we get out of it is a list of names of places with numbers attached to them,
Yeah,
and we put them in order, and we could say, okay, that's the most popular place in town, whatever.
well, I think, okay, I would say what we get out of it is to learn the kinds of places that are popular or not popular, as the case may be. And then if you look at activities which have come up in other questions, you can say, okay, so what kind of activities does X place, which is very popular, provide compared with, you know, et cetera. I mean, that's to me, when you start analyzing the results, not of individual questions, but what Mark was talking about in a different context, and that is when you begin to look at that kind of information coupled with other information you had, what is it telling you about the nature of the way in which people recreate in the broadest sense in Newbury? That's what I think it's telling me.
Right, so regarding this particular question though, it's like, if what we did is listed out like 40 places in town, and just, you said, pick off the ones, well, I don't know what the question is there, but which ones do you like the best? What are your favorites? Pick 3, pick 3 of your favorite places, something like that. Would that get us to where we're trying to get with this question, or are we actually trying to elicit places that we're not aware of
I thought it was more the latter, that there
Okay.
might have been a hidden gem that people are actually using that you don't know. So,
I just looked up Colby Village.
I was gonna do the same thing.
Well, that's the
I was,
whole-
questioning.
Yeah, that was a holy dog.
I'm sure, yeah.
Right. Yes.
Well, I mean, part of the other part of it is, I mean, in a sense, we're trying to figure this information out. But also, what we're doing is we're providing information back to the town, saying, Manta Fields, where everybody goes. Or maybe we're saying, Plum Island, everybody's over Plum Island.
Right.
That sort of thing. So they don't know either, I guess is the
Right.
point. And part of our mission is to actually educate them in that way, so. I don't know, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, there may be one or two places in town that we're, not really familiar with, or people I'm sure in town who can pick out their favorite,
hey, Jake.
Jacob's Cellar or something like that somewhere.
Yes.
And that's fine. There's a place for that, but I'm just wondering how useful that is.
Do we want to switch it to please name the top 2 locations or top 3 locations? Or is that gonna limit it? That might help people be like, okay, where do I visit most often instead of this one, it kind of.
No, because, no, I'm sorry, I don't go for that. Often isn't asking you to rank. It's asking you essentially to think, well, where do I go to pretty often? Oh, I go, But if you start asking people to rank, then I think what you start doing is asking them in a sense, what's more you're asking a different kind of question
Okay.
I see that.
to me,
Yeah, I see that.
right?
Yeah, I can see that.
I think what this is going to tell us, I agree with Sean that it may also pop up things that surprise us, okay? But at the same time, I don't think we can use it to fish for those specifically. If we
I could see
want to
having
do that,
Another
then,
option where you fill in,
you know.
something like that,
Yeah.
that's fine. But
Okay.
I guess my bigger concern is that, I guess I'm leaning more towards, let's just not beat around the bush. Let's list out as many of the names of these places as we can think of. And just pick 3, or 4, whatever, we'll pick a number, and that'll be how we word the question. And by doing that, we'll, people, when they check 3 of these things off, then we'll have a set of 20, and we'll have a subset of 8 that people use a lot. So that actually tells us something. Whereas if people check everyone, then we'd have a set of 20, and maybe 18 out of that is what everybody does. So, you know what I'm saying? Because they just checked off all the boxes. Not because they actually do it, but they just, oh yeah, I'd like to go there, bring the dog or whatever. Sure, that'd be great, of course. Click, click, click. Next thing you know, they've checked off 18 options, and we haven't learned anything. So they know where these 18 places are.
So are you saying we should list out the?
I think we should list out some, because if you just leave it to open, a couple of problems with that, but the biggest one is collating it, is going to be the biggest nightmare. But the other thing is, again, just going back to what are we trying to figure out here? I mean, presumably we know most of the places that are recreational or open space or, aligned in that direction. Maybe we don't, but, we can leave an option for people to fill in the blank later.
Yeah.
But, which ones are people using? That way we can determine, where the funding should go, et cetera. What grant should we, be applying for? Is it for sports activities, or is it for a hiking trail, or is it for biking? What is it? And we're asking the town to give us that information because we don't know.
Right.
What does the state want?
For this question, I'm not sure
I don't think
they give that level of guidance.
they
I think.
basically just say do a survey. I don't think they really have, it's not very specific about how this survey, or like, they kind of leave it up to us what we want to try to find out from it.
Yeah, I mean, the end goal is you create an action plan, so to the,
Based on community
The-
involvement.
based on,
Yeah.
the engagement and,
So we come back around to if everybody goes on a hiking trail, then that would be the one,
Yeah.
probably one of the Parkers on. Yeah.
That's kind of what my read on this was, you know, like, if everybody says Mantra Field, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, we should continue to dedicate resources to things at Mantra's Field, right? If everybody chooses one of the private entities that has open space in town, but it's like, okay, we need to be looking at, you know, land protection options for these types of activities, you know, like,
I think the interpretation is the next step, right?
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
gathering whatever information we can, and then, like, to your question, you could think about it differently. You could think
Right.
about it like, let's support the trustees, or you could think about it, wow, we really need some bigger areas with multiple loops,
Yeah.
right? Because that one really works for people, or, you know, you could just, that's gonna be actually the hard part, I
Right.
think,
Yeah,
for
I
this
think,
exercise,
yeah, I
but
think
interesting part.
the other thing that comes out of what you were just suggesting is that if you have something that's very, very popular, then looking at what it offers, right? And what perhaps other places could be offering if we improve the parking,
Right.
if the trails were better signage, if a map was available.
Right.
That's how I would see this working.
if everybody says the refuge and nobody says the town beach, well, that tells you something, right? Why is everybody going to the refuge and not the town beach?
Because everybody's at the beach, they're not taking a survey.
But I mean, like, you know, like,
No, they haven't paid for
maybe
a
it's
parking
because of parking
ticket.
access, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah,
like, you can kind of maybe read between the lines a little bit there, you know?
exactly, yeah. No, I think we'll get information to plug into the plan and also to perhaps lean on the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, why
Okay.
don't we move on?
Sure. Do we like 7? The ranking? Is that all?
Yeah, his comment about, number 8, okay, I have to reference it again, because I can't
Is that
read it
just?
from here, but that's not your fault. Okay,
We can make, you can
Can,
make that bigger.
is it readable for everyone else? I can make it
That's
bigger.
why I said
well,
this side.
okay, his concern is, he somewhat digs a hole about a lot of stuff, frankly, and I can see that people, for example, don't know that certain places exist, but that is a factor of signage, among other things. For example, he's talking about there, about the Pearson, most people have never heard of.
What's the
It's
Pearson
on
playground?
Pearson
Yeah.
Drive, okay, and I happen to know only because I lived around the corner, but anyway. Okay,
I don't think he's asking for anything.
yeah, and he's wrong about, of course, Hans Morris, okay. That's,
What was that?
yeah, what he said, 11 locations identified for open space in the town of Newbury, only Plum Island, Great Meadow, in the Central Street Recreation Environmental Resource Area owned by the town. Coffee Island straddles Newburyport and Newbury and is owned by both communities. Others are not referenced, such as Hans Morris Reservation. Well, the point is that's a greenbelt
Right.
property. It's not a town property. So I just felt that he wasn't quite aware of what this was asking.
Let's do 8 first though, before we jump down, so we can read 11. because that was under 11. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I read that wrong.
And
Yeah.
again, I'm not sure what he's asking.
Yeah, I can't see.
Sorry, I wish I could read it.
No, you're
Right.
good.
Where he says the not sure of locations assumes people are aware of all the space that does exist.
But we have a name.
I think what we're after there, and has been from the beginning, is if everybody says they're not aware of where places are, that tells us that the mapping availability, the informational availability is poor,
Yes.
right? If everybody says, that there are no, they don't agree that, right, that means that they're okay with the fact there's plenty of information, etc. But it will, well, I think basically the things that follow really relate to the first question, right, the first item.
I think number 8 is good.
I think,
Yeah.
just one small little thing.
Yeah.
Trails badly marked, is that poorly? Is it poorly marked or badly marked?
Poorly, I
Poorly.
But I do think the other stuff is really important, because we need to know things particularly about handicap access, parking, the whole dog issue too, I think is important.
Where is this, of the 11 locations identified, where is he
He's
referencing?
talking about,
think. The
The-
old space.
there's a
Oh,
list
okay.
on the town, and that list is a bit weird anyway.
I'm sure he's got a copy.
Yeah,
And that's.
I actually like that question. Although it leans towards like hiking, but yeah, I like that question.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of hiking. And
Right.
we get lost all the time.
right.
Do we want to
Okay.
add other options that would apply to other types of open spaces besides trails?
Those apply. I mean, when the rail trail comes in, parking's gonna be a problem. You know, that needs to be addressed in the next 4 years.
Last we heard was 28.
I've got an inside source. I got the guy with the DOT's building the bridges, so I'll have at least a 9-month heads up on that.
Okay, so
Which bridge are we talking?
number 10,
All the trestle bridges that have to be rebuilt.
Oh,
We could talk about that.
What was
Yeah.
number 9?
We're not gonna make the hour if you.
Number
Oh.
10.
What was number 9?
Oh, sorry, number 9 is
Yeah,
basically just
oh.
another,
Yeah.
or is it number
Barrier
9?
or
Okay.
problem. What do you, how do you reference number 8? Barrier or problem, go down to number 9?
or should I add if there is a barrier or problem? you
Yeah.
determines? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
just so that it's,
The language
because
is
fine.
people might speak of a barrier
Like a
as a
physical
fence. Yeah, so
That's true.
barrier, issue, challenge, concern, whatever. But I just wanted, you should, you know, like.
If there
Yeah,
is
keep
a
it
barrier
consistent.
or,
Yeah, I totally
it should pick up the language from the previous.
Yeah,
should
whatever the
say
tone
or
is.
problem,
Yeah, yeah,
because otherwise they're gonna be thinking physical,
correct.
right?
Yeah, because I was.
Yeah, good point there.
Okay, good, I can leave town.
Number 10, no, I don't think we want to ask them how they want to get it.
I mean, that was how it was originally worded,
Yeah,
but I was trying to make it, like, I thought maybe the respondent would think that they were signing up for, like email alerts if they checked email alerts. Like, I wanted it to be more, I was trying to
No,
make
I
it more
think-
clear, but it might be asking something different now, but I'm not sure. It is a different question, technically.
I would disagree. I would think this is how we would want things pertaining to this topic communicated to you. I don't think,
Okay.
you go to the town Facebook page, I guess it'd be something you're looking for, but I don't think there is one. The town website,
And also social media, I think I almost think you should break it up, like.
Well, so you
Facebook
need
versus-
to insert something like, what do you find? You need to make it personal.
I think, I want to take the sign for the, you can see it 2 miles away here. What's the pregnancy place?
Oh,
Freedom fertility.
Yeah, I want to take the freedom fertility, take the sign and turn that into a crawl, like we can say, hey, we just fixed this hiking trail.
It's
see it
gone
from
now.
So we need a billboard.
They took it down.
They took the sign
down.
down?
Oh,
So it's just
And
an
now it
empty,
says self.
it's a blank canvas for me, I
It's
love it.
like,
yeah,
it's
it's
self-
storage. I mean, that's what I look out of my window at,
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
And they all went away to Newburyport,
Yeah,
right?
listen,
Georgetown has that.
We're not fertile as a town anymore.
that's a very obnoxious.
Oh, yeah, a little board there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what-
Well, no, and you know what, I think that's a good example of, I'd say poorly done, but, I mean, people drive by the soccer field, most people drive by the soccer fields once a day. You know, if we had
Yeah,
a billboard there or some such thing that, and all the problems that go with it, keeping it clean.
the police
you know.
chief's trying to get a big, one of those big billboard, like,
We actually have
Flashing
2
signs on
sandwich
the-
signs that, I know we have 2 because I put them away. And it's like, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
But, so that's the kind of thing I think, because I think everybody goes by the fire station, and you see it when town meeting is.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
Yep.
And that's that, because, you know, not everybody's in their phone.
Yeah, the Georgetown one's nice because you're at a stoplight too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're sitting
yeah,
there
yeah,
and
yeah.
you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're at the red light,
Yeah.
like, oh, what's this say?
Yeah.
You know, like,
And as much as I, you know, we have discussions like this all the time, you know, what would drive someone to the town? Would you go to the town website to see if soccer practice was canceled because the field's too wet?
right.
I guess if it was, you know, if it was reliable, but let's put a billboard out, and if they drive by
Well,
the field, they're gonna stop.
interestingly, Ipswich schools and Salisbury schools both have electronic message signs outside.
So it's-
Ipswich High
if you're on
School
Second
does
Street again,
and
if you put it
Salisbury
behind
Elementary
Triton's
does.
driveway, yeah.
Yeah, so we have, I think, okay, the signage law here is kind of a little wacky and weird, and I have to confess I'm somewhat responsible for that because it got changed in some really strange ways. But yeah, we need to phrase this, I think, to push it to the person. Do you want to say what I'm saying, trying to say here is, in other words, not in some sort of,
How would you prefer?
you know, kind of anonymous way, or what is your opinion about, but what do you find?
What do you
Right.
find is the most effective way? to
Yeah.
do it?
What for you are the best ways to, you know, in other words, what works for people? Or we could ask the other question is, what does, you know, where, well, that gets to be difficult because then it's like saying, where don't you find information?
Yeah.
But I think it's better that we ask about the person.
Sooner or later, someone's gonna come up with a town app
Yeah,
that will
Right.
push stuff out.
Yeah.
In pickleball, we communicate weather through an app. You sign
Yeah.
up for an app,
right.
and you get a blast email
Yeah.
as one, and it's not even an email, it's just, we're not playing today, it's raining.
It's not like kids baseball league.
Yeah, so that technology's come along, and I
Yeah.
think that's where we're gonna wind up, because I don't think I'm gonna go www.town, this is still town.newbury.org,
no.
whatever it is now.
Yes, it is.
And then click through the boards, and then go over the boards, and the agenda's here, and then there's a
Yeah.
film of this, and it's, oh, yeah, the field's closed, it's raining.
Well, that's what I was suggesting in some other stuff I did earlier, that the town of Newbury open space should be a website,
Yes.
right?
So you don't
In
have
other
to
words, it shouldn't
get
be
you to
that you
page
go to the
6,
town
yes, yeah, no, I
website,
agree.
it should be, if you go to it, you get referred to it.
Yeah, it should
If
be a
you
standard.
put open space Newbury in, it should bring up
It's on
a
the-
separate website,
I agree.
which would
So
have
is
mapping.
this one asking like what what do you like now, or what would you think would be the most effective way?
I think that's
Which one
like
do you wanna know?
the
Yeah, okay, well, maybe you could divide it in two. In other words, you could say,
we could say like what works. and
well,
what
you could
needs-
say what works, and then you could say, what do you prefer?
I think I think the
what
preference
works for
is
you.
we should wait for the second one, right? Because once you get this, then you can find out. So if you find people adding other and it's SMS text messages,
Uh-huh,
then you have a whole different opt-in, opt-out. How do you get this app? How do you register the phone numbers? You have a whole series of follow-ups. I think this one is like, hey, how do you go get your information? Like, do you go to a website? Do you just talk to another parent? Like, I think this one is
So how about,
the
how
first
do you
one, not
find
how
out
you
about
prefer
open
to
space
be.
trails? How do you find out about it?
I think that's
Yeah.
good.
How do you
Because
find
that's
out about
just-
open space trails and recreation areas in Newbury?
So that's the first one. Your follow-up question is, okay, now I know that you go to social media. Which social media do you go to? Do you go to Facebook? Do you go to
Mhm.
Twitter? Do you go to, I forget what my son uses,
I
Reddit?
put like personal,
Right?
like
I never went on
friends
Reddit.
or something.
But my son, do you go on Reddit often?
Sometimes, yeah.
So it's, anyways, it's just a generational, different way of getting
Mhm.
information.
right.
But I think that would be a follow-up question based on the majority of people from this. And if you find out that it's printed flyers, then you have a different,
So what you're
Yeah.
suggesting is it would lead you to be able to make an intelligent choice about where to put the information.
the money or the information.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Okay,
But before you get this one answered, you can't answer,
yeah,
you're taking shots in the dark.
right.
That's very true. Okay, so 10 looks good. Do we want to add anything else?
Because if they say TikTok, we're in trouble, right?
Well, that's under social media.
Yeah, no,
So- But, and then, what type of social media? I do Facebook, you might do TikTok. You might do TikTok, right? Because I can tell you're a TikTok guy.
Use numbers on TikTok.
Maybe word of mouth?
Yeah.
Oh, we actually had a very in-depth discussion about adding that option, and we decided
I
to
defer.
not include it because we actually can't do anything about
Right.
like that.
So how do I get, if you're the town crier, how do I get you that information to socialize?
Right,
Sorry.
yeah, we wanna include stuff like, oh, we could, print more flyers, we could do more email alerts, like, we could change all this stuff, but it's word of mouth and it's like,
If anything, you probably get frustration,
Yeah.
I would write something about, no one ever says anything.
yeah.
It's a town meeting at the fire station.
I think one source that people get fairly reliable information is actually the printed media, like Newburyport News, they have
Mhm.
community events calendar,
Okay.
local, what is it called? The one
What's it,
you
like
search-
Daily News? The newspaper?
Newspaper, or, I mean, I don't know what our presence is on cable television, but I know we have some sort of relationship with them, so there's another
News,
News media?
news,
news media.
And then,
your other,
I think that's good.
awesome. Everyone happy with this? Alright.
Yeah.
11.
Okay.
I think it's 11 if you expand the column there. with
Oh,
the-
yeah,
the
sorry, I
descriptions.
don't-
Yeah, no worries.
No, if I
Maybe it's just the window, yeah.
can- It's still like,
Oh,
it's really annoying.
well, I think it's this one, the last two in that, I think they say should not, or shouldn't, the town shouldn't, dedicate resources to open spaces, the town shouldn't develop rec areas, something like that. And based on the 1 and 5 descriptions, to me, I thought like it just said should be should, because I think 1 was, no, the town should not do this. So when it said like, town shouldn't dedicate resources to open space, and if you select 1, it's like, no, the town should not do this, like, I don't know, it just seemed to read a little weird to me when I was reviewing it.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it
No.
so that we can see the options.
And the attachment you sent us,
Right.
it read,
Yeah, okay, good.
so,
Well, I think, Mike, what you're responding to is not only the double negative which Mark mentions, but also we're asking whether you strongly feel the town shouldn't do something, or whether you mildly, right, or you don't care, maybe that's the range.
yeah, but, so it's the town should not dedicate resources toward preserving open space, and the town should not dedicate resources towards developing rec areas. So if you selected one, you're saying the town should definitely not do this.
Yeah,
And if you select 5, the town should certainly do this. So if you selected 5 there, you're saying the town, like you strongly agree that the town should not dedicate resources?
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
so,
Right.
so should it just say should, and then, because then it's consistent with like the questions above it. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of answering them all the same way, and they're 1 through 5. Whereas I feel like the last 2, you kind of flip 1 and 5 in reverse. If I'm- Sit.
Like the numbering, you mean?
No, like, so,
The column is-
so like the first question, or the first line in question 11 says, existing town land should be developed for active rec, open space such as athletic fields. Okay, so if you fill in box 1, you're saying the town should not do this. And if you fill in box 5, you're saying the town should definitely do this. When you get down to the last 2,
It's the
it
opposite.
says, it's the opposite. It says the town should not dedicate resources.
So
so
it's kind
it's-
of repetitive.
Or,
No, just get rid of the not.
yeah, because it's flipping the way you answer 1 through 5, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Read number 4 without the not in it.
The town should dedicate resources to preserving open space.
And so if you disagree with that, you would be selecting 1. You know, the town should definitely not
You
do
just have to
this.
get rid of the
Yeah.
not.
But so if you have not in there, you
So-
actually, you're hoping
Yeah.
people would select 1 on that
So
one, right? So like, no, the town should not do that,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
all you need to do is to take out the 2 nots
yeah,
in the last 2 items,
And then you're done.
right?
Yep.
And that way you don't have a double negative, so you don't essentially strangle the rating system.
yeah,
I would also suggest we need to do a couple other quick things. One is, I think the first one, existing, should say existing suitable town lands or something similar, because,
that makes sense.
we own a quarter of an acre somewhere that's in tax default on Plum Island, and you can't realistically think about developing that for additional recreation space, so I think it has to be,
Or should we say like existing town open space?
I think
Well,
I think the word
suitable.
suitable just, that's, because I was actually trying
Change
to read,
that.
I think that gets it.
Okay.
Because there's land that's, lots of people chit
well, I'm
chat
gonna
about
say now,
that may not be
yeah,
suitable
it's
for what
recreational,
the purpose is.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
So I like,
correct,
yeah,
you're saying?
no, I like suitable,
Yeah.
I like the word suitable in there. And I think-
It could be,
Okay.
it could be a wetland parcel in another
Yeah.
town, that's not suitable, or the parcel could
I like
have
the word suitable, I
significant
think just
natural
add
resources or
suitable to
something.
Yeah,
which
we'd
works
wanna
one, you're good to go.
eliminate. At least some of us would want to eliminate. Others may,
Others may,
you know?
others
So
may.
we are saying suitable,
I think suitable is
Works.
good, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Okay. Are we saying suitable for all of these?
Okay, then it seems to me that we need to plug in as a totally new question, John's suggestion, because I think it follows, you've got now people into thinking about
Yeah,
town initiatives, let's call them, okay? And I think now to turn to things that are oriented specifically to recreation,
The only thing I stand to defend in that question is, because there's just a couple of those more from curiosity while we're talking to people, and I wanted to keep this kind of in the perspective. You could put your recreation director question in here, which is, that to me is, that's the one, I was hoping to go to town meeting this year. If I don't go this year, I'm gonna go next year. That we should have someone in town hall whose life is recreation, you know, permits, signups, collecting money if we need to collect money, Corey checks for coaches. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to get done. Everybody says it should be done, nobody wants to pay for it. You know, we've got a job description, we've got, I'd like that question asked, and that is a very selfish ask, whether it would fit in town-owned lands, town-owned lands, town-owned lands, or maybe it dovetails right in. It's just, all right, so now we've got all this stuff, can we have someone to oversee it?
What are the 4 and 5? Dedicate resources to what?
Towards preserving open space and towards preserving recreation areas. Developing, sorry.
I would say preserving and maintaining open space, and then you could maybe have your 5th one be the recreation like support question.
Yeah.
Developing and maintaining recreation areas, something like that.
And that's
Or
me personally,
managing.
by the way. I don't want to speak to you or the committee. But,
No, I'm good.
I think we're all kind of in agreement.
Yeah.
That's where we'd like to land, but we can vote on it.
Can I make a suggestion about the formatting of this?
Yeah,
Typically, questions like this, you would see as part of the question at the end, you would say, the town, ... and then on the left, should, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is should not, and then each option is develop suitable, I don't know, I can't
so it's
read.
like finishing the sentence.
Right, you're constructing a sentence essentially.
Okay.
And, because it's very repetitive the way it is.
That's,
And you can
I
see
have
that
another,
there's like 4 options there that all start the same.
and why is there 5 and not 3?
that's true, because we had 3 up here with the
Yeah,
other.
that- So you should, that,
Agree, neither agree or disagree, and disagree would be the 3.
yeah, I don't think you need 5. Am I wrong? Does it matter?
I don't think it
I think
matters
it's-
any, 'cause
You
it's
should
just
keep
gonna
it
be-
consistent.
It's just gonna be tabulated anyway,
Correct.
so.
So I think you want just 3, because then
Right.
that follows the same format of all of the others. So it's like, I agree, I don't agree, what's
I
the
think
word?
what we're shooting at is a scale between should and should not. So we're trying to get people to select one of those.
And I think you're trying to do, yeah, and that's fine within the 3, but I think when you have 5, it gets watered down.
How about the town should, if it doesn't cost me anything?
Well, I mean, presumably that would
We
be-
actually have a question about that. We
Well, it's
incorporated
important. I mean, it is important.
it. Yeah.
It's everybody's for hiking trails until the bill comes in. We went through the playground for crying out loud.
I would guess that people would say they should not then. Right? Isn't that what that is
Yeah.
all about? Yeah.
And
So-
I like kind of pigeonhole them into that. If you don't,
But to what
You don't
degree
want
is
it.
what
Yeah.
I mean, and going back to the format here, I mean, typically on a question like this, it would be like 1 to 10, where 1 is should, 10 is should not, and then people pick any of the numbers in between. Somebody might be a 6, just a little bit about should not, because they have one little question in their mind about it. Other people might be 1s all the way down on the left. Okay, so when you tabulate them, you'll get an average based on who answered what on the question, and that'll say, okay, the town is mostly moving towards should do this, although there were so many responses that said no. But, I mean, I think that's the point of asking a question like that. You're trying to find out to what degree people want or don't want a thing.
So we
Not
should add more.
specifically, not an up or down thing, you know, to what extent? Because, I mean, you're gonna take 40 replies from this, and if they all say I do or I don't, you know, you really are getting it down into, well, what if I'm like, I only want to do it if it's free, or I only want to do it. Now, if you have 10 options or 5 options or whatever, you can pick 3 or 2 or 7. And now, when we come up, you know, when we analyze the first option here, if we analyze the results, what we're going to see then is, we might see a 7. I don't know what 7 means. I guess it would be people are more or less inclined not to do it, but not so much that they absolutely would move to another town if it happened.
So, the way that I would think of surveys and have done surveys, yes, absolutely, you can have the granular scale of like 1 through 10. And you're right, that's where you get the bell curve, right, to find where it is.
Well, I
But
think
where
we're just gonna
this is your
do-
first pass, I guess a broader question, do you anticipate sending a follow-up survey? And if the answer to that is yes, you could make these more granular, and you can even target the people who said yes or no. Would you be more inclined to go for this if it didn't increase your taxes or whatever, to see what the scale is? So it's just it's approaches. So you can have the 5 or you can have the 3. So if you,
I
or you
don't
can have 10. You know.
think we are planning to do another survey.
It's not required, I
But-
think it's a big lift, so in terms of the progression of like what you have to do to get to your end goal, I don't think it's been determined yet, but,
So if you
it
think
might
this is
depend on
kind
the
of-
results we get, right?
Yeah, so if you think this is kind of a good first pass, and you wanna put the 5 back in, that's fine. But you could also do it in a different way, that, okay, of this, these are the respondents, this is the way, then maybe do a follow-up. Like, would you be open to this if this was this, or, but
It's kind of a stacked deck though, isn't it? Like,
most surveys are.
if someone's interested in open space, then they'll probably support open space.
I know I would be filling this out in a very positive manner.
Yes, yeah, well, that's okay.
But I'm also.
Well, and also it'd be
choosing
nice
that
if you made a presentation at town meeting and said, 100% of the people that responded to the survey felt that we could spend some money, here's some options. You can spend $300,000 on a walking trail that's handicap accessible, or
Yeah, I think, I mean, well, of course, what we do with the information, of course, is that's a different meaning, I think, down the road. I mean, we do want data that's, I'm just concerned that we're going through the bother of taking the survey, we should at least get data that could be used for something down the road.
That is a good goal to have.
But I think the general thought is, yeah, okay, what are we gonna focus on? I mean, problem is, we can't do all this stuff, so, you know.
So, yeah, like, I think you probably, said at the last time we were talking about this, that we just wanna get, like, what are people's biggest, most urgent concerns about what they want? Like, 'cause, like, of course, we want all of these things to happen, but, like, we wanna know what the town really wants right now. But, okay, I'm
So you're gonna go back and make that 5, because you want the 5, right?
I mean, the scale doesn't matter. I'm just saying, I mean, 5 would probably be more useful than 3.
Yeah.
10 is more useful than 5, but it doesn't matter. Because, I mean, you're just picking one circle out of a number.
Yeah, so it's not,
Yeah, as long as they're consistent though, I mean, that's important. Like, should's gotta be on the left and should not be, has to be on the right. And all the questions have to be framed in the same.
Yeah, I can rephrase the questions, or the options here. I'm confused, so are we keeping these two bottom ones, cause isn't it kind of just repeating itself now?
so it's the two
No,
bottom
you
ones
can't
are
if
one
you-
for open space and the other one is for recreation. So if you scroll further down,
Yeah,
Yes,
you can't have negatives in the last two.
right, I understand, but
Yeah,
are we,
right. And I think
but isn't
Sean
like
was
this
saying
top one
is,
the same as this?
I think the two is future, like on, like properties we don't own, like the town doesn't own yet, whereas like the first one is like stuff, resources we already have.
Okay.
That's the way I read them, like if we're gonna dedicate resources towards preserving and maintaining rec or open space, you know, that's new, like unacquired.
Do you want to use the word acquired?
Should we say then?
The town should,
Yeah.
should dedicate resources to acquiring.
Okay.
That's
So
what
that's
it's
been
for.
all these months.
Well,
It
tonight was
really
an
is
absolute
annoying.
failure because we're at an hour and 15 minutes.
Uh-oh.
You've blown the,
They're never coming.
I'll never be like that.
I'm coming back for the cookies.
Well, I thought this was gonna only take 15 minutes. Okay. So I think that's.
You don't add people to the room to make things go.
Right.
That's lesson of your internship.
so the other switch is at the top, I think, Sadie, and that is you should switch left and right. In other words, it should be the town should,
And then the town should not.
and then the town should not,
Okay.
okay? And I think it's up to, frankly, how this works out through the whole thing as to whether you use a 3-step selection or a 5-step selection. And it may be that 3 steps is going to work better in terms of how you physically go through the questionnaire, whereas 5 steps, you know, just may not work. It's preferable to have 5. I think Sean's point is well taken, but it may be practically that 3 is better, particularly from the scoring point of view. People have to do it. Did your suggestions, John, kind of get lost in the wash here? In other words, did we answer the question as to whether we have things which are specifically directed towards recreation?
Do we add those questions to number 11?
Well,
I don't think they all fit in 11.
Yeah.
And like I previously said, I think the one most important that probably does fit in here is whether we're willing to put an employee on it. The other stuff, certainly the summer programs, if we had a rec person, are gonna happen. I mean, that's, to me, that's gonna actually fund the position. Having kids go up to the soccer field in the summer,
yeah,
$25 a head.
But is that a survey?
It's
question?
not, no, it's not an open space. That was just,
Yeah.
I was just thinking this would give me a little.
well, no, but wait a minute, this is an open space and recreation plan, right?
Yeah.
So I think,
It might be, these questions,
Yeah.
I think, are very important. I think that the question of whether you support hiring someone also will show you how serious they are about the 5 questions you have up there.
Yeah.
This stuff is how you sell the rec director, in my mind. That's kind of things, let's
right.
let's have a men's
Well,
softball or a
okay.
co-ed softball league.
I think this is important because not only is it how you sell
Yeah,
the position, but it also tells us something about what I would call the organized recreation audience, if you want to, you know, the people who do it, who are there in the community, and we don't have other questions which really tell us about them. And I think we need to know that from my perspective, because we need to think about, as we go through looking at the plan as opposed to getting information, where should our emphasis be,
yeah,
right? Or are we dealing in fact with the fact that we have a lot of people in town who are heavily invested in seeing lots of recreational opportunities in an organized sense, but also as many people who like passive recreation and are concerned about that. Because what's going to happen is when you start talking about money, which is where it all comes down, right? So
no,
I don't.
if you guys think it'll fit, then I think those are legit.
I mean, I don't know what the rest of you think, but I'm not sure
Probably should be a separate
necessarily.
question.
Yeah, I'm
It's a
not sure
recreational
about
question.
those questions
Yeah,
specifically,
right.
but I think they work pretty well.
Yeah.
I
Can you
think
just scroll it up a
the
little?
last two are a bit
The other ones there.
belong in the previous, if anything.
What are the two?
The
Town expanding
funds to mark hiking trails and
Okay.
guidebook and expand funds to build walking trail at.
There's just the three: develop summer programs, community participation,
And the
and the
rec-
rec director. Yeah, that's, again, I think that's, I might come back for other things now.
There was a summer rec program when I was a kid.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know when it
And,
disappeared, but that was a long time ago.
so, I mean, I've done some research on this, and I don't want to be long-winded, but Boxford used to have a program run by volunteers with 300 kids in it.
Yeah,
It was a clear moneymaker, but if it's funded, if it's volunteers, it's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you need an employee if you're gonna have an endeavor like that.
Yeah, well, I tell you something, and I'll say this very honestly. The first meeting I came to, I came away from that meeting thinking, my God, we have a really active recreation program and events going on in this town, and it's all run by volunteers. And you are making decisions about all kinds of stuff and carrying it through, and I really felt that was frankly unfair in the sense that that is not the role of total organization and management, talking about the roof and that shouldn't be. And so I would like for the town to belly up to the fact that they should be. And the other thing that I've also felt, frankly, is that the whole financial thing is kind of a little weird in many ways. And for me, it crystallized when I learned at our last meeting that the select board adopted your plan without any kind of proper review. And that's no comment on the plan or you, that's a comment on what's going on at the government level. That should not have happened. That was irresponsible. And it wouldn't happen if you had a recreation director or a department, even if that was part-time.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would have to think.
So, anyway.
Yeah, I'd just say that I strongly agree with your point about having a recreational director. Makes perfect sense. You can't run a program like that successfully without somebody dedicated to it, doing a volunteer thing. Relative to these questions, and I'm I mean, I don't oppose putting them in, but in my mind, that it's kind of crossing lines here. His purpose is really for a planning document. What we're doing is we're talking about planning. And if you look at what's required by the state to get this through an urban space plan, operational, commenting on operations of how run committees or programs is kind of outside the scope. So I think that, we want to try to keep this short, or keep it, simple and on the shorter side, but informative. I think that in terms of writing the plan, which is the purpose of this questionnaire, that maybe we don't put it in and we focus in more on what we have here, on if it's recreation and related to open space, then 100%. And if there's more questions we need to ask about that, then let's put it in. That's.
I mean, I do think those last two questions are the entry to this topic, right? Because you're like,
Yeah.
I would just say, I would add two verbs, in my opinion. The town should dedicate resources toward acquiring and maintaining open space and trails. You could say that. And then your other one would be dedicating resources towards acquiring and actively managing recreational areas or something. So you're kind of getting at the fact of like more work, right? Is like going into these things. Do you think that's a good idea or not?
I'm happy with that.
Are you happy with what we got now, or do you want more?
No, that's good.
So then that influences like the goals section at the end. It's not goals, the end of the plan, it's action items.
Yeah, then
Right,
you can
so like
sort
an
of
action item would be like,
explore, like
okay.
at the next public meeting, you can
Yeah.
say, hey, everybody thought we should put more resources. What would that look like? Would it
Yeah.
look like staff? Would it look like, CPA? Would it look like, whatever the things are? Then you could further that discussion.
And survey
It's like opening
respondents.
the door to that topic,
Yeah.
I guess.
Because if survey respondents are opposed to that, then we're not just getting up there and getting killed, being like, no, the town opinion is they don't want this. And
Yeah.
You're right, like, not that that's gonna be the case, but
Yeah.
just thinking the reverse,
Like I remember voting at town meeting on the basketball thing.
Yeah.
That took a couple times, right?
Yeah.
And it was, honestly, it was kind of weird to sit there and be like, basketball, we need basketball. It was kind of like, do I think basketball is the most important thing to spend money on? Like because you hadn't, the voter, that was the first thing, right? So that's what this plan is getting at, where you can sort of have a case to be made that these are the kinds of needs the town has said, then it's easy to vote yes. There's no question. I mean, in my mind as a voter, that's how I would, weigh yes or no. So again, this is kind of like, are you good with how things are? You got a whole volunteer rec committee, like managing all the money for, like, that's crazy. Or is there more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it gets to the same place, a little more subtle than.
Yeah.
Because you can totally go down that road in terms of open space, right? Like
Right.
Ipswich, they've got 2 staff members, they've protected acres, they've managed it really well, they've got great signage, it's just, it's a visible path.
Yeah.
And Newburyport's got a 95-page summer program booklet.
They do.
I know they do.
Yeah.
Hamilton's is like.
Yeah, well, they,
127.
both towns pass a rather interesting critical mass, which unfortunately we don't reach.
Yeah, no.
So 7,000 doesn't break a very interesting
It's a city.
urban.
But
plan
Hamilton's
thing.
a town.
Anyway, I think this is a good idea
Yeah.
in terms of making that a bit more specific. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, that's good. Good mark.
Get trails in there too. I think we want that, at least I'm
Yes,
hearing people are
yeah,
interested
you
in
do,
making
Right.
sure trails stays on people's mind.
right.
I think
Exactly.
that was the
That's
That's
an absolute, if you had a staff person, working on trails, that Board of Boston Trail would be much farther along.
Exactly.
It really would,
Yeah, of
because
course.
it's dedicated focus. That's why we got Sadie here working on this project. Okay, what else?
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I think we got it.
That's everything? Okay.
On those
Um,
questions,
I
did you
think
say-
number 12 does need some
I think we
tweaking.
were all in
Okay.
the email.
I think
Okay.
Okay, okay, I think there should be two options. Hypothetically, would you be willing to, one, support, yes or no, two, vote for, which is a little different, right? You can support it, but you must not want to vote for it. And then I think you need to ask another thing, which is, do you support the town seeking funding? Because I think Mark does make an important point that all you talking about these things, do you understand that they need to be funded? And so are you willing to support that, which gets you then into the CPA and other stuff later on?
Okay.
So I think those are good questions. I like the second one is, are you in support of us seeking funding? But I don't, if you ask someone, are you willing to vote for something? They're gonna be more like, well, I don't know, that kind of depends, I guess I'll need to know the details. I don't know, I don't wanna bias the question.
Well,
I mean, I know where you're going, but
okay, so my idea was by asking the question, you're willing to vote for it, are you willing to make something formal as opposed to supporting it? You might go to a selectmen's meeting and say, we need to do this, but would you support it? By actually saying, yes, I think we should have 2% levy on our tax bill, which is what the CPA is about. And that may not be important to know at this point, but I do think that there has to be the question that should the town be seeking funding, because essentially, damn it, this is what all this exercise is about.
exactly.
Is there, if you click next, is there a next page? Do you have like a thank you or something?
Yes, it goes to
Demographics.
demographic
Oh, okay.
questions.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it asks all these, and then
'Cause
there's
it-
a third, final section that says thank you, and click here and all that.
Because what I was thinking, to tie in to where we were going there is, you know, A, ask them if they're willing to pay it, but B, remind them that by completing the survey, you're allowing the town to move forward with grant programs, et cetera. You know, just kind of a reminder of
Like
what
a
this is
little
really all
sentence.
about, yeah. You can put it there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we just put it in an intro now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what you had in your
Yeah,
intro
it's
just.
down, you know, it's like,
Right, yeah,
good
it's in
morning, yeah,
Yeah.
have a good day, yeah. E-subscribe alerts, where you going with that?
What?
Is that actually a link in the town somewhere?
I think so.
Really?
It's, oh yeah, you
Yeah.
can subscribe to like,
Ah.
agendas and stuff, I think to all of these,
Ah.
or whatever the,
That's how I keep track of
We're
the
like
money.
to-
Ah, Where's pickleball?
Between this and the cookies?
Yeah, this is, yeah.
Light.
Look at all the emails you can fill your inbox with.
oh yeah.
Oh, well, listen, you were there the other night. You know, we've got things pointing to email boxes that don't exist anymore, so. My records, yeah. There is another app for everybody, or it's actually a program. The Recreation Department has a piece of software to run recreation, which we barely scratched the surface with. We've got someone dedicated to figuring it out now, but things like if you had tennis lessons, you could go online and sign up for tennis lessons, et cetera. So there's some technology coming, but you just put a very, very good point out there, is if there was a URL just for recreation, just for open space, I think that would be, cut through all the, it's just a big banner. It's raining out.
Right.
We're not playing soccer today.
So the IT director is working to plan for a new town website.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
No, and
I haven't heard much detail about it, but I just have supported reaching
not-
out to the
you're not old
committees
enough to
who
remember the
actually.
guy spinning the plates on the Ed Sullivan show. But that's what, I picture this guy running around with everybody tugging at his,
Yeah,
that's why they don't last long.
it's tough to have. Speaking of resources.
All right, anything else with the survey? Or are we're getting close to being happy with it?
I think we're happy.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
This is great.
My only question, Sadie, was when my when my printer stopped printing because it ran out of paper. Have we thought about the size this is going to be? I mean, did you do it this physical size so that we could work on it in committee, or were you thinking it would be this size if someone wanted to do it on?
Like the physical type size?
The print.
Yeah, right. I mean, because you get pages like that.
No, I was thinking I would probably make up like a Word document,
Yeah.
go through each one, make sure the space isn't, taking up half a page. But I just, copy all the text and paste it into
Right.
like a Word document.
So it would probably end up being half the physical printout size.
Yeah, that was just quick to get it out to people.
Okay.
But-
I just thought there might have been something in your mind about the fact that, we all need,
Yeah, no, I would
Yeah,
make sure
okay.
that it's,
On the physical ones, are you gonna key them in?
I would probably just
Yeah.
enter them as a respondent,
Yeah.
and then they'd all be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah,
Otherwise you would send yourself crazy trying
right,
to match up your.
yeah, exactly, I agree. Yeah. Good point.
Thanks.
So, that's awesome, I'm glad we got through that. So Sadie, I think maybe once it's finalized, you can share it with the group.
Yeah,
But I think it's gonna be good.
okay.
And then, what about, we have the meeting, the town meeting coming up on the 29th next month, so we were talking about just maybe get some dates and what we need to do to get it ready for that meeting.
Yes,
Maybe just put some deadlines on ourselves if there's anything, whatever else we need to do next, I guess.
okay.
Do you guys who attend town meeting regularly recall, are there committee reports?
Not like I've seen in other towns, no.
Yeah, like there's no
No.
regular chance
No,
for the
no.
open space committee to stand up and the rec committee to stand up and say something.
No.
Your annual report or whatever.
We don't. We're like, seems to me,
I think the planning board does.
Finance and planning.
well, okay,
Yeah.
whatever's on the, what do you call it, the docket,
Warrant.
in other words, what's on the, what do you call it?
Warrant.
The
Yeah.
warrant.
Yeah,
People involved in what's on the warrant do.
right. No, I'm
But-
talking about like an annual report.
No, because the town has an annual report,
Written,
written one,
yeah.
which.
We wrote that, some of you guys. wrote
Yeah,
that.
right, and a lot of people are totally unaware that the town has such a thing.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know how to cope with things like that.
Yeah, well, I get, that's a bigger topic than,
Yeah,
but specific to the survey, I'm just thinking like, we can have like an easel as people are checking in or something that says, remember how long the line is some years, maybe we can have the QR code in line while people are standing there, like, I think we'll be able to, get the survey information.
well, and I would think it's possible to get announcements by the moderator. You can't suddenly introduce a new item to be voted on, but it would seem to me that you could have,
Yeah,
and you could work with the select, we could work with the select board to draw people's attention to it. Yes, you know,
yeah,
they'll have trouble with it because we've never done it before, but, you know.
So my experience is Article 2 usually has reports of committees, and it's just blessed. I'm just, you stopped too soon. I was going over the last time, Warren.
yeah,
Because I think if you say, if that's your opportunity, you'd have to give a report.
yeah,
And your report could simply be, here we are, we're doing this as a survey, you know, fill it out on the way out, we really appreciate it, put it in the box, and just,
yeah,
reminding about the lines is good too, though, because if people are gonna drop them off, you need multiple collection points, I guess, and I'd be willing to hold the box for you too.
yeah. Well, I think we're mostly thinking people will do it on their phone, like
Yes.
at that particular venue. We can
There's a lot of
also
phones out
have
at
paper,
town.
yeah,
I see it at church too.
yeah. Like right now.
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
just looking
last
at
year, I only went to one meeting, and I remember there were tables set up, like, the people that were against the rap boys, and they had
Yeah.
booths up, and they were talking and pulling people.
Oh, yeah,
So an easel probably would be fine if we made a poster.
yeah,
It only depends how you ask.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess,
I'm just looking at the warrant right
Yeah, I got one that I've seen.
now. Okay.
Yeah, it's Article 2, to receive reports. And then this vote, like, you know, move on. That's how you get the placeholder. And I think if you raise it, because I remember Newbury Town Day, they had a presentation one year that kind of went a little long, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Well, I can ask about Article 2, whether someone from the committee wants to just stand up very quickly and make that announcement. Okay, thank you.
you get a bunch of straws to see who's willing to do it.
David spoke last year, he was great.
Yeah.
Stand up to the mic.
Okay, and then, so a part of that and related, then, Christina typed up, a draft of, using an announcement statement from us. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody seen it? I don't know if we distributed that yet.
no, I don't think she sent it to me.
I'm pretty sure, but maybe,
Maybe I didn't get it. Was it,
so,
that's different from the COA newsletter thing that we did, right?
right, yeah, there's a bunch of links on where you can go to get more information. So
Do you have it right there? Can I just-
I got it big, because, but it,
Is it an update to the last news blast about?
yeah,
Okay.
because it was like links, click here if you want to know more about Wednesdays. There was a bunch of hot links you put in.
Hmm.
She said on the 12th.
Yeah, morning, early morning as well, yeah. So, yeah. If people want to read, well, it'd be kind of, but if people want to read it, then we can talk about it next meeting. I think we have one more.
Oh, yes.
It's time to update the town of Newbury's open space and recreation plan, and the Newbury Open Space Committee wants to hear from you. If you would like to contribute your opinions regarding town priorities, please click this link to complete a brief survey. Open Space Committee meetings are held monthly. Please see the website for the calendar of events. Click here for e-subscribe.
I had added like a very basic version of that. Oops, that's not what I wanted.
She's a new vendor. So this is a vendor.
Like this, I had added. But I figured once we actually have the survey ready to go, then we can just add what she said.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
so we can, yeah, basically it's the same.
That first, yeah, it's in that first,
yeah,
it's
basically.
been up on the website for a while now, but it's slightly different. So, yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So, when we have the survey ready, we'll just update it on this.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right,
And then what else?
so the other thing that, we added to the agenda is to talk a little bit more about the map, the walking trails. We said that we were going to, as like, we're to build up a survey, really, it's gonna be available to everybody, but I'd be like, hey, thank you for doing this, did you know? And then click a map. Mike, I know you've been doing some mapping.
Yep.
Are we ready to build a map? Or what do we need to do, I guess, or what do you need to do to build a trails
Need
map?
to, well, so how in depth are we talking about? Because the one that I had been developing and working on was just showing the locations.
Mhm.
Wasn't showing like trails and things like that on it at that scale.
Yeah. How did we have that later, or any of that information there, do
Well,
We probably have most of it through a couple different sources.
yeah, I'm gonna say that it strikes me that the organizations all have good mapping.
Yeah, so,
Okay, the irony is that the one place where there might be a site, where there is a site to walk, which is Great Meadow, doesn't have any trails except social trails, I mean, trails made by people.
Yeah.
So I don't think from my perspective, we're not at the point that the town has mappable, mappable trails in a sense, because there are no trails per se at the recreation fields, are there really? I mean, they're all social trails.
Well, there's the little Boy Scout trail,
Hmm?
the Boy Scout trail in the back.
You can't get to it.
Well,
And
Depends on
also,
where the
frankly,
town is.
right now, it shouldn't be used, because right now, orient myself, the north side of it, you could end up taking a nasty fall off what the trail is in there. I was in there last fall,
yeah.
and it's bad, and it's not maintained,
Correct,
and et cetera.
So,
I mean, it's,
right.
yeah, we'll fix that, that's our next thing.
so that's that's right. So like the way we were developing that map was showing the locations in town, like where they are and what their names are. And then, on the website, it was, if it was a Greenbelt property, there was the link to that specific map,
Yeah.
for that property that's created by that organization. So the town resources are the ones that really, we don't have that for. Like Martin Burns, I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel with Martin Burns, I'm just gonna send you to the state's map for that property, right? So that was kind of the way we were approaching, like, just where are these open space opportunities in town, regardless of ownership. That is almost done. I'm still coloring in all that water, Bill. Gee, days, how long that takes. And, I'll be honest, the last month or so, I haven't touched it, but that's what's really remaining on that map is the fine tuning aspects of it. It'd be nice if, the GIS layers actually just flooded to their boundaries instead of, you know,
Clip.
yeah,
Clipping, yeah.
exactly. So that's really what's been taking the longest to finalize that, is that kind of fine tune, touch up to make it look the right way.
Yeah.
We also have officially like hired, using technical assistance, MVPC, to do the maps we want.
Yep.
Right now, we've just told them to do the ones that are required, but they've asked several times, like, does the town want any other maps? Like, I think when they've provided technical assistance to other open space rec plan updates, there have been additional maps. So it's certainly, you know, want to keep taking advantage of your free labor, but we also have another
Yeah.
resource. So it, like, to the extent we can really identify what we want,
Right.
that seems to be the key. And maybe it's just a better layer of the town-owned properties that have trails, right? Like, we've just started building Cobble Farm Trail. Well, we've got a layer, but that's not on the map yet.
Right.
Like Colby Village, I don't know, is there a trail there? I'm not even
No.
sure. Like, right, but we've got only a handful of them right now, but at
Yeah.
least we could get a map started that shows what we have. You
Well,
know, there are a couple more that I
yeah,
know of.
one way to do it might be to have the straight link to the map on your site for, whatever, you know, any of your reservations, okay? The Hands one, the one that, rather than having to go through Greenbelt site and find it might be possible simply to have an active link and to have that as a, an addendum to the map, to the map location thing that you're doing.
Yeah, I think, and I don't remember if I ever sent it. I might have been one of the draft options. I think I had a Word document with direct links to like
Yeah.
that specific property page. You weren't going to Greenbelt's homepage and then having to sift through everything. It was taking you straight to the Hans Morris page. Same thing with like Martin Burns or Parker Wildlife Refuge. You were going right to the specific page, not to the main like homepage.
Greenville okay with that? Because they put out, I mean, we'd have to ask them if we want to do a direct link right to their map. Or they might want to be like, oh, click here for our mapping tool and then.
Yeah, I mean, I've never asked. I just assume because it's free and available to everybody there that, you know, it's not saying, you know, this is, we're not like saying that we made that map or anything like that. Yeah, I think I also like linked to like the app that we created that, you know, shows all that stuff as well too, so people could just go right to that to, you know, find out how to download the app or whatever,
Yeah.
which we're like actively promoting all over the place.
It's awesome.
But I think you're right that the problem is that with the organization's website, you have to really dig down sometimes to find the actual map. The Trustees has a very nice map to Old Town Hill, but it takes some finding because they, you know, they have this sort of,
Yeah.
I mean, all of those organizations have got GWOW kind of approach to life these days.
Yeah.
And so rather than, you know, and that's why I think we could have active links straight to maps, which would work.
Like to where the map lives on the website. you're
Yeah,
saying?
right,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
So would you want to pack up the project and send it over to Merrimack Valley?
Well,
Or do you
I
wanna-
mean,
Do you want to keep working on
if Merrimack Valley has the ability to
They-
turn it around at a decent rate, I think it will be more efficient for them to do it, unfortunately. You know, like, I love doing it and, you
it?
know,
It was good winter work.
it was great winter work. Now I'm like slammed, I'm like, oh my God, what am I,
Yeah.
you know, and I was doing it on my lunch breaks at work, because I have 2 monitors, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then like at home, I'm like my wife's laptop trying to do it, and I'm like, this is not working, you know what I mean? So, you know,
Well, why don't we circle up about that?
Okay.
I'll check in with the GIS team and see what they have the capacity for. But that is a good segue to the map, discussion of maps is that public meeting. I know that's on the agenda, but just because we told MVPC we were hoping to have large-scale draft maps that are required by the workbook for the end of March. I think that's what we sort of put as the deadline for MVPC to provide those. Again, just draft, and the idea is at the first public meeting, part of the process is looking at these maps and talking about all this stuff. So I did want to try to get this public meeting on the schedule, if possible, because that's a very clear part of the workbook. Unlike the survey, which is like you have to do one, but you could do more. You have to have a public meeting at the beginning, and you have to have one at the end. So we should get this meeting, the first one, sort of take more shape now that we have a good handle on the survey. We're getting the maps, talk about the agenda, see when that should happen.
Yeah, so we were talking, I know we were talking about different venues and opportunities, and have we come up with an idea where we're gonna hold these yet?
I talked with the library, and they have, well, I think you gave me an idea of the meeting room in there.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a good place to have it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could use this space too, which
Yeah.
we're getting very comfortable in.
Yeah.
Now we've got technology, it's easy to
No,
put.
we should,
So there are options. The
Yeah,
library's great.
the library has a community room, that's
Yeah.
what it's for.
Yeah,
That's where we should do
yeah.
Sounds
it,
good.
in my estimation.
How many do we need to have?
How many people?
No, how many public meetings?
I think one, just to get the survey out there and to show people the maps, and then one at the end to talk about like our action plan that we've developed.
Okay. Yeah, it's just the library is like on the other end of town. That's, I wish it was something more central, but I guess it's all marsh between here and there, so. I guess that's.
It's 1 minute from here,
Yeah,
but it feels like
Well,
for
it's
Plum
the other
Island,
side.
they're just like,
Yeah,
25 minutes.
yeah, 20 minutes to get here. But yeah, that seems like a great venue. So, we should probably just look at a calendar and see where we can fit it in. What other preparation, once we get the maps in March? And then,
We will need a QR code for the survey, which I can probably figure out. We will need the paper version, which I had planned on making. I wanted to, I know Christina had talked about a one-pager to either post as a flyer or post on the website and like send out in the email blasts that people get who are subscribed to like open space stuff. We talked about doing a mailer of some sort. I guess that's not super urgent.
well, if we want people to show up, we need to advertise it.
Just as much advertising as possible, yeah, basically.
Just out of curiosity, you guys, when you did this the first go around, do you remember what type of attendance you had to these public meetings? Was there a lot of interest in town back then, or
No.
no, a couple people?
Well, okay, I can't speak to the first meeting because I wasn't there, okay? My impression was there were probably a dozen or more people. But one of the things that happened, which I think is not happening with this group, which is great, is that the Open Space Committee kind of receded into the distance. And so it took a while for it to kind of get its act together, and so when it finally got to the point of having a plan, they just, their communication just wasn't there. And I would say there were 10 people maybe besides the committee. And many of those were people who had been involved anyway.
Yeah, it'll be important to reach out to all the different committees, because of
Yeah,
our people that
right,
will
right.
probably be more active to show up, but I'm hopeful too, like, I think a lot of people are more aware now of what's going on with all the development, and I think they're gonna wanna be, they're gonna be interested in wherever they fall on the spectrum of towards open space, they wanna probably participate.
Right, the other thing is, I mean, we were going through this earlier this evening, you're talking 2009, I think it was, but I can't remember whether it was in 9 or 10. I think it was a little before 10 because that was the date the plan went in. Think of it, what kind of communication we didn't have then. The whole world of electronic stuff.
Yeah.
And so reaching out to people was the newspaper, word of mouth, that's why it was tough and difficult. Plus the interest level, I think, was frankly lower. The presence of Greenbelt's presence has increased since then here in town, the number of, and Audubon, etc. So I think a number of things have changed.
Mhm.
And we shouldn't forget about Audubon, by the way, because they are, you know, part of us
Agreed.
in an important way.
Yeah, so we can start checking some of these boxes. I know we can work out like on the one pager, QRs, that's pretty quick and easy. The maps is the big thing out of our control at this point. So as we start some of these action items, we have, what's our next meeting? It's March, April, so it'll be before so we do have another one. I'm thinking we should be able to pull most of that stuff together. By then, hopefully, we have the draft plans. So we could either, somewhere in the beginning of May, does that sound reasonable to everybody to have this public evaluation?
Yeah.
The next third Tuesday is April 15th. So there are 5 Tuesdays in April. The 29th is town meeting, which is a Tuesday. You could announce, you could have it May 6th.
Yeah. I mean, if we can do Article 2 and if someone stands up, we could also, that would be a great
Announce
time.
it.
It'd be like, there's gonna be a
Yeah?
public meeting for meeting. It's coming, just good.
How does May 6th look for people?
For the public
We can
meeting.
Yeah, we can see if the library is open, available. I'm just saying, like, I don't,
You wouldn't want to do it on a Saturday?
do it on Saturday.
I feel like a lot of parents have sports on Saturdays.
No, yes, a lot of parents put the kids to bed on Tuesdays.
Yeah, flip a coin.
I think the last couple, there was an energy one, I think that was during the day on Saturday. It creates a problem because there's no employees, but,
Well, we would be there.
yeah. That's nice.
But, yeah, there are pros and cons,
There's probably no magic.
it's ideal to have 2,
Yeah.
you have one during the day, one at night.
No, a lot of people show up for town meeting too, so I mean, I don't want to.
No, yeah, that's not easy.
Yeah, I don't know. But says that doesn't, I don't know.
Somehow you really have to work on jazzing up an open space meeting.
You could
That's
do
what
like,
need to do.
sometimes
You need
I
a TikTok.
feel like sometimes a late afternoon is not bad, like if we made it fun and said bring your kids and look at maps, about open space, like maybe you could catch like people at the end of their workday, but before their kids go to bed, I don't know. I do feel like Saturdays morning is very hard.
Sacred, yeah.
In the spring, the Little League and soccer, and it's just like, if
Plus
kids
it's-
are little, it's not a great time, but
Yeah.
kids are older, it's great.
Is there still a program at Triton for like community service? Because that would be your babysitter's kind of event.
No, they haven't done that at town meeting in a long time. Remember they did that at NES, yeah. I haven't heard anything about it.
Fell to the liability acts.
Yeah.
I'd say for now, let's just pencil in the fifth or sixth.
So,
Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, but we have one more meeting, we aren't making any official announcements before the next meeting, so we can, that final, I mean, some of there seems fine.
so what, I'm lost totally here. What, are we trying to find a day to have a meeting?
The kickoff meeting, public meeting.
Public meeting, there's a whole protocol you need to follow too for those things.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking it's just having a meeting for the sake of having a meeting.
No, the workbook requires a kickoff meeting.
Please, would you stop quoting the workbook for once? Just remember,
No, I'm just saying it does require it.
yes,
Okay.
I know it does.
Yeah.
I know it does, but I hate to operate under that kind of, What are we going to take to the meeting?
Maps.
Maps.
Our
If
whole
we're,
plan.
look, I'm sorry, but if we're having a meeting and I have to get up and say we're having this meeting because the state wants to have the meetings,
No.
no, so what I'm saying is,
We need to set the agenda for the meeting. Right now, we're just talking about trying to find a date. That's a whole, I agree, that needs a whole thorough discussion. We've discussed it at previous meetings, but I don't think we have time tonight to discuss it.
no, but what I'm saying is, okay, in terms of looking at the date, what kind of meeting is it going to be? That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay, I
Well,
mean,
what do we think? I mean, what are the options for the kind of meeting?
well, one kind of meeting is you have a whole set of specific tasks which you ask people to get involved in, okay? To help you with your planning goals. I'm trying to think of some meetings that I did and went to when I was living in Newburyport, which were attended by lots of people. And there was this sort of whole idea of the meeting having a real outcome. And the real outcome in that case was an influence on the way that the CPA funds were spent. So that really pulled people in. That's what I'm trying to get at is, we can decide that at 4 o'clock on a Thursday was a great time to have the meeting, but it's what happens to me. which has
Right,
been the
I
problem with
know
all
we
this.
have talked about that a little bit at other meetings, but I just didn't feel like we had time to fully flesh that out tonight. I agree, those are all really important questions.
So doesn't that, what I'm trying to say, Kristen, is doesn't that tie to what kind of day and date and when?
Well, I think the point of the meeting is to announce that the plan update is underway, to get people learning about what the open space rec plan does, to get engagement about the survey, to have people looking at the maps. Sadie and I, when we met with MVPC staff, they gave us guidance on the kinds of things that would be held at that meeting. It's an engagement tool to get people talking together about open space and recreation in the town.
Yeah.
This is what happened June 11th, 2008, says here, David Powell opened the meeting. He provided an overview of the following: timeline of open space and recreational plan update, why an open space and recreational plan, approved plan qualifies town for grants, so and so.
No, I know all about that, and I know what we were doing.
Yeah, map priorities.
I'll be blunt about it. What we were doing is covering our you-know-what, because it had taken so long to to do the plan. It's taken 10 years from the initial questionnaire that went out in 2000, and here we were in 2010, okay? I just, okay,
Yeah, it's,
you know, fine.
no, it needs to be worth it.
Yeah,
Worth
and
our
it
time,
needs
worth
to,
the
it
public's
needs,
time. It needs
you
to
know,
be
I'm trying to
fleshed
get at, it shouldn't be done for the sake of doing it. Obviously, that we, I think, all agree on, and so, to me, before you have a real sense of what's gonna happen, you can't really make intelligent decisions about time of day, day of the week, and perhaps where it relates to town meeting, town election time, and the beginning of the summer and all the rest of it.
So you propose that we flush out our meeting first, then establish the date, so you wanna have it like a.
Yeah, I don't want
As
it,
a
I don't want it
general-
in detail, I personally, but what I'm suggesting is not that we have it in detail, but we have, what can we do? You're talking about maps, okay? Why would we have the maps? What would we be doing with the maps?
That's right.
Right?
Yes, I have lots of ideas, I just don't think we're gonna talk about that right now. So what you're suggesting is we talk about that at the next meeting? It's just gonna keep pushing it forward, is,
Yeah, what's the hurry?
See?
I mean, I think the sooner the better.
timing and funding to have a supportive intern.
How long do we have you till?
Well,
So everybody, how much you guys-
You're not a senior, you're a senior,
yeah, I know.
It's fine, it's fine,
Never leave.
this is a bigger conversation, but I think there's no hurry, other than you've all been working on this for a year plus, some of you longer.
Yeah, but come
And
on,
it's-
you don't wanna have that conversation, I think, because you know why we've been working on this for a year. Anyway, go ahead.
Because we applied for a grant and didn't get it, and it took us a few months to find
Right.
other resources to keep
Exactly.
the project
Exactly.
moving
Yeah,
forward.
okay. No, you know, I'm sorry to be awkward, but it just, I can't sort of sensibly talk about and try and think about what days will work and how soon we should do it, and until I have some sense of,
Okay.
you know, it's,
That's
and
fair.
I don't think it's not that difficult. I'm not saying we discuss it now, but I'm saying you had this meeting with the MVPC people, okay, I can imagine what they said, I mean, come on, I know these young guys fairly well. You know, so
Alright.
what?
The workbook, I know you're anti-workbook. They do have a lot of good suggestions about what we can do at that first public meeting. So maybe we can, before, it seems kind of far off anyway, so maybe next meeting, that can be like first on the agenda.
I would say let's put that as a homework assignment, so all of us
Yeah,
think about it.
brainstorm
review
about it.
And then we're gonna come back and have
In the meantime, share what
Yeah.
they, I mean, do
Exactly.
they have it in some shareable format, or is it a meeting you had?
Well, I have my notes, but I can type up my notes, I can kind of copy what the workbook said, just for us some ideas, and then I can send that all as a big
But
email
I
down.
thought that you said some suggestion that MVPC had a sort of template for this kind of thing. Do they?
It's all very vague, they just want to give us, you know, a jumping off point.
The template is in the workbook,
Yeah.
sorry to say. What we had with MVPC was a conversation about how they've helped towns run good meetings.
Oh.
So that's what's in Sadie's notes. So we can share more about that. But the template is a part of the process that the state
Yeah, all right.
requires, yeah.
we can slice it up.
So it's a mix. We want it to be good for us, good for Newbury, but we also have to check the box.
Yeah.
It's all really good, yeah.
Okay.
I am not going to be here on the third Tuesday of April.
Okay.
I just wanted to let people know.
Well, there are 5, so
That's true.
we should
Lots to
talk
choose
about,
from.
is there a good time for the next meeting?
I am around every other Tuesday.
I'm not here on the 22nd, but, yeah, so Christina's here, and we have a co-chair, so you guys could have one without me.
Would you wanna try the 8th? Just to go back, that's 3 weeks. Going to, I don't know,
April 8th.
just to have this
I can do that.
particular focus discussion.
I'm good with that.
See if we need it or not.
Yeah, maybe the 8th works better.
Okay.
Does the 8th work best for everybody?
Plan for town meeting and all that.
Same place, same time.
Is 7 the earliest people can do? Or is earlier an option? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think, it's like 6:30 was working for some of us, I think 6 was a little tight
Okay.
for a couple of us.
I think sometimes this room isn't available till 7, but we can look
Okay.
and see.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
7 is fine.
Then we'll stick with 7 on April 8th.
Okay.
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 And the agenda.
When's your next meeting, do you know?
April,
It's usually the second
April
Monday.
8th?
nope, it's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
And there are no more committee member
What's it?
updates, we hit them all.
What's up?
Oh, I think we actually moved it.
Okay.
I have an update. Sadie and I attended the Citizen Planner Conference on Saturday in Worcester, which is when they offer a whole bunch of workshops on planning related topics for it's really geared towards volunteer board members, open space committee members, planning board members, zoning board members. There were some select board members there. It's a really awesome workshop if you're interested in planning, and there was in particular some stuff about open space, including Melissa Cryan, who is the author of the workbook and the one who reviews all the town's plans, did a workshop which Sadie got to attend.
Yeah.
So they met, and yeah, they're looking at updating the workbook,
Oh.
which is amazing. Yeah.
Searching for committee members.
I don't know, just the interesting highlight. I think there's more focus on like climate, which I'm just sort of
about.
something interesting to think about as we're talking about the sort of traditional open space and rec. How does climate change put a different lens on that? Maybe that'll come up more with priorities, I think, but.
Yeah, they're getting rid of a lot of stuff too, a lot of requirements, adding a few. I'm still waiting to get the, or did you sent me something, the sort of list of.
She had some slides that we're gonna hope to get, and then we can share.
Yeah.
Maybe just the changes. They haven't officially approved the new workbook yet, but there's sort of gonna be a grace period, yeah. Where if you're already in the process, you don't have to like stop what you're doing and do some whole new thing, but you can maybe have some flexibility about some of the requirements.
Were
So.
the years between updates addressed? I think that was on
I
their
think
agenda
they
for that,
did
too.
change it to
Yeah.
10 years instead of
Yeah.
7, which is
Heard that was
a
coming.
difference.
Yeah.
So our plan's gonna last 10 years, so we better make it good.
Well, I mean, you know, it takes you, it only makes sense.
Yeah.
Like 7 years comes around fast.
Yeah.
By the time you get it all done, you get it in there, now you're working on doing it again,
Yeah,
right? It's like, it's a lot for, again, for a volunteer committee or whatever, you know, anybody to take that on.
Right.
Well, that's why many towns don't have them, is because the original 5-year thing was impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's a wrap.
I have just to tell you that I finally actually got in touch with the Plum Island Taxpayers Association, with their secretary, and I took the little list of questions and sent it to them, and he's going to take them to the next board meeting. He didn't tell me when that was, and get back to me with responses.
Great.
And I, you know, I mean, I think you all know this, that to me, that part of our open space and access is one of the big bad things about this town, and I hope they will be positive, but I can't. At this point, who knows?
We had sort of a set of questions to reach out to like partner groups, stakeholder organizations or committees, so we all sort of have, I know Sean also, you reached out to.
Yeah, we're
Your partner.
Coastal Trails Coalition, gonna be, yes, stating that, sharing that with them at their next meeting, which is a couple of weeks actually, I think now. But,
Well,
So-
that's another, I haven't done my homework on that either, so that's another thing we can work on.
anyways, they said they'd be happy to look at it and answer it, so that's good.
It's great.
That is great.
Now, I noticed that we have a document here, outreach plan, is that what we're using?
Yes, and there's a digital thing for that as well, if you wanna use it, but you don't have to.
Okay. And, I mean, so this stuff, how, should I ask how we're doing on the progress of this? There's a lot of stuff on.
That's a good reminder for all of us to keep up with that. But yeah, I think on there should be like, we talked about who was taking what organization.
Right.
Do you have anyone assigned to you or?
No, I don't, I just sort of volunteered to do coastal trails.
Oh, right.
I'm happy to, do more,
Okay,
if, you know. It looks
Yeah.
like it'd be helpful.
I can, look through it and see what needs to be done still, and I can send you some. Okay, a new assignment.
So that-
New
that's
homework,
the
yeah.
rest of it. Okay.
Alright, is there anything else, more updates? No, then we'll move to adjourn.
Second. Or I make a motion to move.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
All in favor?